Welcome back, everyone, to another incredible episode of Chat with Dan. Now, before we start, I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to checking this out. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, follow, it helps a lot, and again, thank you. Have an incredible day or evening, depending where you are, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe. Welcome back, everyone, to another incredible episode of Chat with Dan. For today, we had on the show, she's been twice, she's incredible, she's amazing, we all know her. Lauren, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you? You're also incredible and amazing. So
Thank
just
you,
want to put
thank
that.
you. I like that. And I'm doing super good. What better way to finish off an epic day with someone as epic as you know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally agree.
There you go. There you go. So tell me, what's new? What have you been up to recently?
So I recently actually just got engaged in August.
You're
So
kidding. That's so cool.
yeah, so excited. So
Wow,
there's been a lot of
congrats.
wedding planning, and it kind of feels like being a producer again of producing an event. So it's been
No.
so much fun. But since then, I'm in post production for a feature film that I think we talked about maybe last time, called My Little Renaissance Girl, and I'm in pre production of a short film that I'm producing and acting in. With my friends Amy and Alex. So it's been a busy time, but things have been really good.
So cool. Wow. Like the last time you went here on the show was like on last year,
Yeah, I think it was summer. It was like May or June. Yeah.
right? Yeah, wow. Time goes super crazy. Wow.
I know.
That's incredible. And
Yeah.
like, tell me, like, how has been like the whole? I mean that. So in our previous interview, we talk about how amazing your acting career is, which we all know. But now
Yeah.
focusing like a little bit on the production, yeah, like on on the whole production side, like
Yeah.
how like tell me like how you manage like now basically for those who don't know what is exactly the job for someone who is on the producing side.
Well, I say it's pretty much everything that you're
Yeah.
doing everything wearing all caps and hats in order to get the film to the set pretty much. To me, there's like a pre-production, then you're on set, and then there's a post-production. But so pretty much like what I have been involved with, at least in the projects that I've been in as a producer, is I focus heavily on helping figure out the budget. So you have to start there to even know what you're working with and what it's going to cost to get that film to set. How many people you want, how many actors do we have, who's the director, who's the DP, meaning who's going to be behind the camera um, shooting this
Yeah.
beautiful film and making it come to life. So you're kind of assembling a team as the producer. Usually, as a producer, you're either the writer or working very heavily with the writer. So you're with the script kind of from day one. Once you've assembled that team, you've hired actors, you've hired the DP, the director, maybe an assistant director. At that point, then you get it to set, which is so exciting. And you film. And usually, as a producer, you're there overseeing production, making sure everything is going smoothly, making sure you're on time, because time is definitely money on
Yeah.
set. And then post production, you're really heavily involved with, overseeing the editing, overseeing kind of giving notes. Like you'll get a lot of edits back. And if you're like, oh, I didn't like the transition here, or hey, I think the tone is a little bit more of this. Do we have any footage that captured that? So it's really heavily giving the notes and making sure that you're doing justice to the script that you saw
Yeah.
from day one. So it's fascinating to be on that side. I definitely have so much respect for anyone who produces because it's a lot of work, and pretty much you're just picking up any kind of obstacle or issue that comes your way. It's your job to fix it.
And like how you manage the like sorry, like how you manage the whole stressful situations. Like, do you have like a ritual or like what is your thing in order to kind of ease your mind whenever you see this huge stress? Because I mean, it happens, right? I mean, and like
Yeah.
especially in this whole production side, that in other words, the whole film rests on your shoulders.
Mm-hmm. I think a few things. I think one, I'm somebody who I have to keep a sense of humor under stress. So I'm usually somebody that it's like, how can we kind of laugh about what's going on and kind of keep things light so then we can kind of come back and figure out what's going on. I think there's nothing worse than, tensions being high,
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
once you're stressed, it's hard to see clear. So to your point, I think it's really about going back to the why. It's like, okay, why are we making this film? Why are we making this project? What is at stake? The actors who are coming to set, the story that's being told. So I think as much as you can kind of go back to the why, I even sometimes look back at journal entries or notes that I took in the very beginning, and I'm like, oh, that's when I was right there of like, this is why I want to be on this project. This is why I'm bringing this film to light. And it kind of gives me the perspective to remember the stakes are high, but also the stakes couldn't be lower. So how can I fix this now and ensure that we're getting this to where it needs to be in order to bring this beautiful film to life? Because at the end of the day, it's storytelling, right?
Oh,
And like, it's so important, but I think remembering and kind of humbling yourself of, I know I have what's, I know I'm capable and I have the tools within that I need to fix this. And I think just remembering that empowering mantra is like, I have what I need within me to fix this problem helps me not lag a lot and stay in a stressful state.
And let's say that one day I want to become a producer. Now, I don't have like any like any experience at all, zero. So based on what you know, what advice or like what do you think I should know before jumping into this career?
I think that's a great question. I think a few things. I think one, the biggest thing before you want to produce your own work or just become a producer on a film is remembering budget. So I have been told this and now tell this to others that whatever your budget is, I would quadruple it because usually
Okay.
it costs a lot more than what you think. This isn't a bad thing. It's just knowing and having realistic expectations for what your budget is and what the financials are at the beginning.
No.
That's of then create my second point, which would be having a strategy. Producing is a bunch of different steps. So making sure that your strategy is starting out with, what is this going to cost us? What's our strategy and plan to get us there? Is that applying for grants? Is it setting up a GoFundMe? And making sure that is in place first. My third would just be to break things up into chunks. I think there's so much to do, and it's a good reminder that you can't do everything at once. Not only can't you do that, but you need help. So I think assembling a team who is there to support you and help you the whole way is so vital and important, and
Mm.
ensuring that all aligned with the vision, so that they are putting in just as much as you are into the project. And fourth, I would say, it depending, I guess, on if you're doing theater or film, but especially film, it takes time. We're on year 4 of my little Renaissance girl. So just knowing that it's an end game and know that you're in it for the long haul and it's not instant gratification. This is something that deserves time, and that's a good thing, and that's okay because that's what's going to make it amazing. So if you don't make your film within 1 year, that's actually not a bad thing, and you're probably on the right track.
Yeah. I mean, and like we can see it a lot of times that like with like even with these huge blockbuster films, like once they release it and they tell you like, yeah, this film was supposed to be shooting, I don't know, like in 2015, but we need a budget and COVID and everything. It got dragged until right now. So yeah, that makes sense that it takes time. But in order for you to make it properly, you need to have all the time you can, right? Because otherwise, if you
Yeah.
rush it, I mean, you're not gonna like it. Because you're gonna be like criticizing a lot. Like I should have put this instead of that. Like why did it took time for that? So I can understand that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's giving yourself the time to ensure you're doing it the way you want, and yeah, justifying, the story in terms of that you're doing it justice. Because if you give yourself enough time, then you can look at footage and you can be like, oh, you know what? I actually want a shot of this. We totally skipped the essence of this. And when you have time, you can go back and do those reshoots. When you don't and you're rushing things, at that point, it just is what it is, which again is another learning lesson. There's nothing bad. But I think time should be on your side. Yeah,
Yeah,
when you're
absolutely. And like, so do you have like you get this project and you
Mhm.
bring like your own crew, or sometimes it would just be you and you need to work with the crew that they already have. Like, how does that work?
Yeah, it definitely depends on the project. I've been an actress in short films where there was a whole production crew, meaning there was obviously the director, but there was 2 DPs, so 2 people on the camera because there were two different cameras because it was a multicam.
Yeah.
There was an assistant on stage directing us what to do. There were producers in the background watching the footage in real time and giving a yay or nay of if they liked it. I've been on set as an actress where there was truly just a DP and a director, and they're like, okay, this is what we're doing. So again, you kind of have to align and look at yourself and say, like, what do I want this project to be? Who do I want to be on the project? In my mind, usually what you'll need at bare minimum is more than one producer, because I don't believe in doing life or business alone. I think it makes it a lot
Yeah.
easier, more helpful, more perspective. A DP, so somebody who is behind the camera, knows how to use the camera, who's working very closely with the director. Director is obviously very important. And then usually you want sound too on set. So somebody who has the boom, who is in control of sound, also working with the DP and director. That makes things 10 times easier when you're editing. It can be done without somebody on set, but it makes it a little more difficult in post-production.
Yeah. And for example, as a, let's say that I become an actor and I got booked into this film, should I, as a new one who doesn't have like any experience at all, do you think that I should, I mean, yeah, like perhaps not concerned, but like pay attention on the whole group, or just focus on my part of the job, which is acting, and that's it?
No, that's a great question. I would, you know what, I would focus on your job, which is acting. I think it's always good before taking a job to look up the production company or the director to see previous work, if this is someone you want to work with, if their work aligns with what you want. But if you're already on set as the actor, I say focus, because I think sometimes I have too, as an actress, worked with, I guess, quote unquote, underdogs that maybe at the time I was like, oh, I'm not very familiar with their work. And then I was so grateful I was,
Mm-hmm.
because then, they asked me back, when they
Totally.
had more films under their belt. So I think, if anything, as an actor on set, even if it's a newer production company, take the time, network, like make those connections, and you never know how that's going to come back in your favor in the future.
There you go. All right. Now, so as I said here, so we know how incredible and amazing as an actress you are now with the production. But tell me, let's let's move on here and let's talk about auditions. Tell me, like, what has been some of the worst auditions you ever had?
Oh my gosh. Honestly, I feel like some of the worst ones I had were before the pandemic. That was when you went in person. So I remember being called in the room before, and they were like, Leslie, but they were looking at me and my name's Lauren. So I was like, surely this isn't me. And they was like louder, like Leslie, and I was like, are you talking to me? And they said yes. So I think I was just so nervous. I feel like I was like 25 years old. So I just went in, and whether I was honestly auditioning under Lauren Partch or they had Leslie's resume, I'll never know, but I'll never forget that I was like, I didn't know how to be like, my name is not Leslie. Um, I think some of the other ones were where they ask you to sing on the spot. I am a singer, I don't mind, but I
Yeah.
think it's really weird when you're sitting in front of five strangers who aren't looking up at you and they're like, okay, can you sing? Why don't you sing us a song? And you're like, So some of those situations, I think, where you get put on the spot can definitely be tough. But yeah, I'll never forget being called Leslie. So I always wonder, I'm like, did Lauren or Leslie book that role? I'll never know. So
We'll never know.
yeah.
That's so funny. Okay. And like how you prepare for an audition? Do you have like a go-to song or a go-to meal or a go-to routine or something that you do to set your mind into the audition?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So when an audition comes through, usually my routine is kind of, I'll read through it, see what I need. Once I've memorized, and, memorization, I think is easier for me now after so many years. But what I'll do is I always put on Bury a Friend by Billie Eilish. I love that song, and it just
Okay.
gives me pumped up. So I'll usually listen to that song. I make a list. When I took the Black Box Academy, they kind of gave me a list of questions I now ask before my audition, which is kind of like, what are the stakes of this character? Like, what would I lose and what am I fighting for? So those are things I really focus on right before the audition. And then a mantra I always tell myself is, auditioning is the career. Like, you're so this is a good thing. So I try to remind myself that it's not about getting the part. It's like, if I'm auditioning, then I'm working, and this is a good thing. So I
Yeah.
kind of myself of the stakes before I go in.
And like how you manage to, because for example, with some of the actors that I've interviewed, whenever on this whole audition, that
Mhm.
sometimes they will get like this very shady auditions. Like how you manage to distinguish from a real one, let's say, and for
Mm,
a one that it's kind of a little bit shady that doesn't look quite real, let's say.
totally. I'm extremely fortunate that I have two agents, and so those agents usually get a majority of my auditions. So I'm lucky that now in my career, a lot of the auditions that come through are legitimate.
Cool.
Before I had my agents, yes, when I was on the casting sites, it was so clear when some of those auditions would be sketchy because they wouldn't give you a lot of information. They wouldn't tell you the pay. The character descriptions were really weird, like something like not specific enough. So it would be like just like a pretty young girl in her 20s. And it's like, well, what does that mean? And a
Mhm.
lot of times that's where I would do my research, where if that company didn't have anything or a website or any work, that's when I usually would say, even if they had emailed me or I had submitted and hadn't looked into it and they emailed me, I would usually say no, just because, yeah, there's some weird stuff out there. And I think you really have to be vigilant and do your research and understand. It's hard when you're young, though, like early 20s, because you just want to work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do remember that. Or even sometimes, like, I remember going to auditions and I just felt like even the area or building was kind of sketch of like, this doesn't seem like, I just used to learn to trust my gut. I was like, this doesn't feel right, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, because I mean, it can happen that that you will have all the and that is also one of the things that I have also talked about, that when you're
Mhm.
young and you're new, you're super naive. You just want to have, you just
Yeah.
want to work, as you were saying, make it happen. So
Mhm.
you tend to, I mean, it could happen that you might find someone who looks helpful or who wants to give you an opportunity, but turns out that it's totally opposite way, right? So it's so yeah. I mean, I do agree that it's very important to do like a little bit of research before jumping in.
Totally. Or even like if you have a friend in the industry, or I always recommend mentors. I just started doing that. I'd shoot them the audition. I'm like, does this seem legit to you? And that's when I was lucky enough to have friends who were like, no, don't do this. So yeah, I think any eye you can get in an audition is helpful.
Yeah. Now, Lauren, let's say that one day I call you and I tell you that I want to become an actor.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a little bit of backstory here. I have zero experience, nothing. So, what advice could you give to me, or what do you think that it could be useful for me before jumping into this career?
Yeah, I think probably one of the most useful things I would ask is your why. I think that's so important in any career, but I think especially this one, because I would ask why, for anyone who is starting out who had zero experience, because I think sometimes people's why is, I want to be famous or I want to be a celebrity,
Yeah.
but that's not going to get you the career you want. So that would be my first advice, is just like, if that's your reasoning, I think you're going to be really disappointed in this career for a while, because this career is an end game. Um, the second thing would be, okay, well, then something I would recommend is start taking classes, like dive into classes, go take some acting or on camera or voiceover, a bunch of different things, see what you like the most and what resonates with you, because I think there are so many different paths in this
Mm,
industry, and it's so important to find which one you like. The third I would say is that I feel people think acting is lying, and it's not. So my other advice would be like, if you think this is just because, oh, I'm so good at sales, or, having a different persona, or I'm so extroverted, acting is so rooted in truth and knowing who you are.
yeah.
So I also recommend, this isn't putting on a persona or a character. This is bringing yourself into every character that you play. And I think this career is just so fun and so fulfilling. And so I would also say, if you're somebody who has an amazing imagination and loves to visualize and play, then like this career is for you. And I would absolutely recommend to start just visualizing and daydreaming and stretching that imagination, because that is what is going to help you in any character that is thrown your way, because you're like, oh, I could imagine myself in this position.
Yeah.
Because it's really not about judging, it's about play and imagination.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Okay. Interesting. Now, what are some of the things that we can expect from you in the future? Like, where can we see Lauren in 5 years?
Well, Lauren, in 5 years, she will have 2 feature films under her belt, which is so exciting. She'll have her short film that I'm producing and acting in, hopefully within festivals and winning festivals by that point. And I would hope that Lauren in 5 years either has her own production company, or is moving towards in my 3rd feature film that will
Yeah,
surely be Netflix or Hulu. So that's what I see for her in 5 years.
that's badass. That's badass. And I'm
Yeah.
sure, and you know what? I'm super sure that it's going to happen. I mean, if someone deserves all of the epicness, here is you, and we all know that. Come on.
Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely. And my last question, what
Yeah.
advice could you say to those who are a little bit, I mean, who wants to start something new, but
Mm,
they are with this toxic voice in their head telling them you shouldn't do it because you might not gonna make it, or perhaps you're too old to it. Like, what advice could
yeah.
you give to them?
Oh my gosh, feel the fear and do it anyway. Like, there is no perfect time. There is never going to be the perfect circumstances. And I think all of us, anybody starting something new, it's okay to feel fear. That's not a bad thing. But I would encourage them to feel that nervousness and hear that voice and feel terrified and go through the what are people going to think, and do it anyway, because they're going to totally surprise themselves in what they're capable of. It's going to be a learning experience no matter what. And the only way you really fail is if you don't try and you don't do it. So they have nothing to lose.
There you go. And that's how the cookie crumbles. I love it. I mean, at the end, what can I say, Lauren? As I said, I love your career. It's incredible all the things that you have achieved, but more important, the fact that you're showing everybody that dreams can come true. And that you also have the possibility to do more, like on the acting side, you can do a lot of more things besides acting, which I do think that sometimes people might get a little bit discouraged because they want to start in the whole industry, but
Mhm.
perhaps they're not good at acting, and that's fine. But there's multiple things that you can do, and in order to make that happen. And the fact that you are showing that besides being an epic actress, you are also doing the production and everything here. I mean, that's badass. That's amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, there are so many areas in this industry you can thrive, and don't wait for anyone's permission. Like, you just have to go for it.
There you go. There you go. So yeah, I want to thank also who. Yeah, I want to thank first. I want to thank those who watch either this video here on YouTube or listening on Spotify or Apple Podcast. Make sure to go follow Lauren like right now. The episode is about to be over, so on the link below in the description is gonna be a link to her Instagram. So follow her. Let's make her viral. Hashtag Team Lauren. She's incredible. She's amazing. We all know that. And again, Lauren, thank you so much for making this happen. Keep inspiring, keep creating, because I'm super sure there's people out there who sees you as a role model or someone who can get things done. That's incredible. That's badass.
Well,
Twice.
thank you so much, Dan. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for providing a platform for artists to speak. It means the world.
Absolutely. So I'll be seeing the next one. Stay safe, keep inspiring, keep creating, and I'll see you in the next one.
Sounds great.
All right.